Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are back to annoy you once again. You just can't get away from us. You got to give us a chance to say what we have to say. Thanks for joining us. I didn't sign up for this. Needs no other introduction. Let's jump into what we didn't sign up for. Carrie, what's up?
Hey, Tim, I really want to talk about what people do to fill the voids that happen in their lives sometimes. I think that there's an opportunity for us to explore when I feel like I'm missing something. It's kind of like I'm digging a hole in the dirt, and I'm going to look for something to fill that hole with. And really, a lot of times it's not really good things because we're not tackling or focusing on what we need to do to close out the void completely. We're not figuring out a way to put that dirt back in. We're trying to fill it with something else. And I think that that's a huge obstacle for people. And I think it causes a lot of unnecessary heartache or pain. And so I think it would be good for us to explore that.
Okay, so are we talking retail therapy or what are you thinking?
Well, I think it can be anything. Retail therapy is huge. I mean, have you seen the shopping channels they have on cable? It's awful. I'm not saying that I don't go to Amazon and buy things when I need things or, buy gifts for people or whatever, but I'm talking about truly the shopping and the racking up credit cards and racking up debt and being miserable. And I mean, we could expound from there. What about alcohol, alcoholism or drug use or any of those things? But I want to back up a little bit and talk about when we try to fill an emotional void with something tangible, some kind of material attainment, because there's a lot of danger in that.
Okay. No, I see that a lot. I'm familiar with that. I've run into that before quite a number of times, actually. And I think it's just a product of people are left wanting for some reason or another. People do, in fact, have, as you described it, a void in their lives. And it's very easy to think, hey, I'll just fill this void with some material possession. And that's okay, absent the fact that it's not really going to fill the void, but it'll certainly take your mind off of the void for a while. You will not be nearly as lonely and depressed on your brand new yacht as you would, on the porch on your, hut or whatever.
So is that why middle-aged men buy Corvettes?
You know what? Honestly, no, it really is. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. It actually opens kind of an interesting can of worms in the sense that if you look at the culture here in the United States, typically the standard of living for a divorced female, regardless of money, regardless of settlements, alimony, jobs, she had a better job, doesn't matter. Her standard of living will go down after a divorce because she copes with the loss through deprivation. Just as a female, males tend to cope with a loss by shoving a bunch of material possessions into it, right? So the man's standard of living tends to go up after a divorce and tends to go up considerably because we're attracted to that physical possession and use that to defray the hurt.
Okay, two questions. So first of all, does that mean that women process better than men when things that are detrimental to their happiness happen to them?
I don't know if necessarily better or worse, but certainly just differently.
Okay. So the second question that comes to mind is, what about the women who are addicted to those shopping channels? Like, everybody knows one. You walk into their house and they've got shelves and shelves of knickknacks and all these things and all these little kitchen gadgets and it's almost overwhelming at times because it's all just stuff. And the thing is I'm like I told you, I'm not necessarily a minimalist by any means. I do have my house set up fairly well, but I don't buy a lot of stuff other than what I use to decorate because I look at it as just more I'm going to have to dust.
Yeah, right.
And I don't necessarily want to do that. And so I don't really collect anything. I have a few rare books, and I don't really collect anything. I've never been a collector. I never liked dolls or, any of the things that people tend to collect. And I'm not, I'm not bashing collectors if that's what they want to do and they don't mind the extra work of cleaning their displays all day, every week, that's totally up to them. That's their choice. But I, for one, I don't necessarily collect anything. But if you walk into my closet, I have a ton of clothes.
Okay.
And so I guess you could say that would be something that I buy. But really, I want to zero in. So why are these women and possibly men out there buying stuff on QVC and having stuff shipped to their house every other day? Why does that happen?
Okay, so let's focus on the clothes.
Okay.
The arguably too many clothes in your closet, as you pointed out. Do you have clothes in there that you don't wear?
Oh, I'm sure I do.
Do you have clothes in there that you have never worn?
No.
Okay. The clothes that you do have in there, why did you buy them?
Because I liked them, and they most likely they were on sale. I always shop the clearance racks. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but I have got a big pile of horse manure in my front yard, and it's on sale. Do you want me to bring it down to you?
I'm going to pass.
Okay, exactly. You didn't buy that just because it was on sale. And truth be told, you didn't really buy it just because you thought it was cute or had a little affinity to it. You bought it for a reason. And I'm just curious what that reason was.
Well, I mean, I like having different styles and different fashion, and you have stuff for the winter, stuff for the summer. I don't know. Like, I bought it because I liked it and because I had some disposable income that I could throw at it.
Okay. Deep down, it's down in there because the answer is always the same for everyone. So let's dig just a little bit deeper. What good does it do you to have a wide variety of clothing for the winter or the summer or any season? How does that help you?
Well, it keeps me from walking around naked.
Okay.
I mean, I wanted them. I bought them because I wanted them, because I probably went to lunch with a friend and we went shopping after, and she was buying something and I bought a couple things, and it was that retail therapy, I guess, or the social aspect of retail shopping. Or I bought it online. I actually do a lot of shopping online because I'm not a huge shopper. I'll go every once in a while with a friend, but I don't normally wake up and go, I'm going to hit every store in Casa Grande today. It's not my thing.
Right.
But I will shop online because it's convenient. Before bed, I can go through and look at my iPad, decide what I want, and in a few days it's delivered and I have a new dress to wear, or, whatever.
Right. So having the new dress in and of itself doesn't necessarily satisfy a need. Because as you pointed out, you've got plenty of new dresses, plenty of clothes. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so you have something that you like better than something else in the closet that you're not wearing, or what?
No, but I do like the feeling of a new dress. Like when you go into work and you're wearing a new dress, it makes you feel good.
Interesting. How
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as it turns out, you are both mentally healthy and just like everybody else.
Oh, yay! I've achieved normal.
You've achieved normalcy. The reason you are buying the clothes, just like the reason that people, sit at home and shop off of QVC and get kitchen gadgetry or jewelry or whatever, ultimately you want to feel good. You want to feel good about yourself. You want to look at yourself in a way that you admire. You want to be seen by others in a light of admiration from them. And really what you want are not the clothes, not the possessions, and I would extend it to the divorced man. It's not the Corvette. It's not the speedboat. I want to feel good. I just want to feel good about myself. And so if you can find a mechanism that affords you the luxury of feeling good about yourself, absent purchasing anything superfluous at very least, you'll stop purchasing.
Interesting.
Because you just don't need it. It ceases to be necessary. And it is very much retail therapy. The wife and I fought, and she went to her mother's house, and it looks like we're getting a divorce. And so the next day to work, I'm in a, Armani suit and a brand new Ferrari. Because screw her. Because I'm worthy. Because I'm good. Right? She wants to leave me. Well, she's leaving all of this.
So, let me ask you a question. So we talked about normal and we talked about how that makes you feel good. So where's the line between I'm going to buy a new dress online because it makes me feel good and I'm going to stack my house from floor to ceiling with crap? So that indicates, and I know that there's extremes. I mean, I can't even watch Hoarders without sitting there and itching the whole time. So I don't watch it, but I know a lot of people watch it because it makes them feel good about how clean their house is. I've actually had friends tell me that I watch Hoarders because then I look around and realize that this mess is nothing.
That's so sad.
I know, but I can't, I can't, there are just, some things that I can't watch, and that's one of them. It makes me sad for them, and it makes me itch. Anyway, so obviously there's extreme cases, but my whole thing is I'm happy with my life. Okay. So even though I'm buying a dress because I like the way I look in a new dress, or I like the style of this dress and it becomes my favorite dress and I want to wear it all the time, if I was using it to satisfy some unhappiness, then I would just keep going and keep going and keep going. And it truly, stuff doesn't take care of the emotional things that we go through.
It absolutely doesn't. As a matter of fact, it works against you very much.
How's that?
It works, well, because if you think about it, I want to feel good about myself, but it's very difficult to feel good about myself because I hate what I do. I hate my job. I'm schlepping into the cube every day, and I'm making enough money to keep the wife and kids fed, and everybody's going to have a college fund, and everybody's going to dance lessons or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. And I tell myself that that's what I have to do in order to be able to function, in order to be able to just be okay. I've got to do this job that I don't really like. It's not my passion. I'm not driven by it. But if I don't do it, then we're going to lose the house. We're going to be on the street. And I create this imaginary world of horrible consequences to the notion of leaving or changing a job. Okay? Uh-huh. Well, that's a pretty miserable place to be. So what I do then, as the average normal human being, especially here in the States where we're so consumer driven, I go out and I buy a brand new car to drive to the cube in every day, right? Because, gosh darn it, I deserve it. I work hard. I'm not leaving. I'm providing. I'm not out chasing my passion like some crazy millennial, right?
Right. Heaven forbid.
I'm working for a living. I'm not trying to make a difference in the world. I don't care about that crap. Right? I do care about it, but I can't have it, and so I'm not going to have it. And so I tell myself that I deserve, at very least, the respite that is a brand new Audi A8, surround sound, 21 speakers, AC, If I want to be sitting there in traffic for an hour a day, each way, gosh darn it, I'm going to do it in style. And I'm going to do it in comfort. And people are going to look at me and wish they were me. No, they're not, because how little do they know, right? You hate your life, but you have created a reward system in order to cope with what you do between 9 and 5. So 8 to 9, you drive to work, and 5 to 6, you drive home, because between 9 and 5, you hate yourself.
And that's bad.
And so you go out and you buy the car But you don't buy the car, right? You borrow money from the bank, and the bank allows you to slowly pay them back to death, right? And so it's law of the harvest stuff, right? We live in a world where for time immemorial, we have reaped exactly what we have sown until the last couple of 100 years where the banks got involved. And now we reap first and sow later. I don't have to sow the fields and then reap the produce. I can just get the produce now on the promise that I will sow the field next year and the year after that and the year after that and the year after that, right? Okay, so here's where it hurts you. You have now taken this job that you hate, this existence that you, and maybe hate's a strong word, but it's not your thing. You're not getting up every morning, zippity-doo-dah. You're not, right? You're getting up every morning, you're having to buy this extravagant, luxurious car to drive you in just so you can have a respite from the thing that is so tedious and so boring and so useless to you that you just don't care for it. You wish, like anything, you were doing something else. But you have to do that because you got to make all the payments. And so what do? You take on another payment. Now you're deeper. Now you're deeper in the hole than you were before. You're further away from any level of freedom.
Well, and that's the truth, because we live in a society where people will take out lines of credit to pay off other lines of credit.
You're right.
I mean,
You're
and
right.
that's scary. And then when they get so, when you're sitting there with 13 credit cards that were, maxed out or close to it or whatever, you end up filing for bankruptcy because you literally have leveraged so much that you have nothing else you can give. And you can't make your payments and it's ruining your credit. And so at that point, it's better to file for bankruptcy and say, sorry about the stuff I got. Well, within 2 years, you can get another line of credit. And there are people that will do that all over again. And it's a dangerous thing. But if you go back, so yes, that's the action and that's the consequence of the action. But what is the behavior that's contributing to that? Is it that void?
It is, in my opinion, I mean, a void is such a broad sweeping term, right? A void could be caused anything from the loss of a loved one to I have no relationship with my creator, or, I have no relationship with deity, and to have no friends or social, outreach kind of thing. I mean, just to say a void, can be anything. We don't know. But people do tend to try to fill whatever the void is with some possession. And I think that's not really the fault of the consumer. We've been taught to become consumers. We've been taught that this thing, this physical thing, will make up for all of the spirituality and relationship woes that you have, all the shortcomings on all of the things in life that really matter will be made up in one fell swoop with that brand new car. Right?
Well, and okay, so here's my thing though. I don't know that I agree completely that it's at some level or on some level, it's not the responsibility of the consumer, because I have really good credit, but I also have a nice home, a brand new truck, and I have a Kawasaki side-by-side, right? Because I enjoy taking it out and doing the things that, going four-wheeling and all of that fun stuff. And the thing that is different for me is I have no credit card debt. I'm responsible. It was still my choice to buy those things. So it is my responsibility to take care of them. But I don't put myself in a position where I go into debt for things that I can't afford. And then I'm, miserable because then I feel stuck and I feel trapped, because anybody that knows me knows that I have to feel free. I cannot feel trapped. I have to be able to live my life and be free and travel if I want to travel and not worry about money. And so everything I've done conservatively because I can afford it. And I guess I'm trying to relate to the extreme version because I don't buy these things because I'm looking to fill a void per se. It's just that I work really hard and I appreciate good things because I've had the 1973 Volkswagen Bug. Does that make sense? Like I've had that old car. I think you may
Right.
remember it. I've
I
had
do.
that old car. I've had 8 roommates. I've lived off of ramen and done all of those different things that I did that in my 20s. I worked in an office with this girl. We were good friends. We used to go to a taco shop and scrounge up, spare change to get tacos on 49-cent taco day. But
Right.
that's the kind of stuff you do in your 20s, and then you get into your career and you mature and you become more responsible, ideally.
Okay. I mean, you're rehearsing all of your paradigms, and it's interesting, right? It really
Yeah.
is quite interesting. I would challenge the paradigm in the sense of you're scrounging for nickels and dimes and quarters to go get tacos on 49-cent taco night.
Yeah.
And God, that just sounds miserable. Was that just miserable, awful?
No, it was fun. Are you kidding me? I
Okay.
was I was working 2 jobs and going out a ton and still scrounging for spare change to buy tacos.
Okay. So, but I mean, let's be honest. You obviously must be 10 times as happy now as you were then, right?
I would definitely say I'm more stable now. I'm not sure. I'm very happy now. But the in between was I probably looked at those as the good old days for a lot of years after, with the lack of responsibility, being able to be irresponsible I don't know. It's fun. It's fun to live in that space of necessity and learn about the consequences of your actions. Am I going to buy tacos or am I going to buy milk for cereal? You know what I mean? And so you
Okay,
have
but
to,
so what's changed though?
well,
Because I would challenge the notion that anything has changed because it used to be tacos and milk, and now it's car payments and house payments. I mean, the size, the magnitude of the responsibility may have changed, but the feeling, the challenge, what's really changed?
um, well, I make a lot more money than I did in my 20s.
I know. Again, that's a question of magnitude.
Okay.
Not, no, I'm not talking about, if you just took your life from your 20s and went, times 10 or whatever, and now, and all you did was increase all of the income and all the payments and all the responsibilities and all the whatever times a factor of 10, okay? But we've established that you have a lot more responsibility now, but you're not necessarily happier now. You weren't necessarily happier then. You're just living in your skin, breathing in and out, taking life as it came to you, doing the best you could.
Well, I mean, yes and no, because I think that I have moved into the person. So I guess in my 20s, when I was, living that life, I didn't have a lot of direction. I was trying to figure out who I was. And 20 years later, I know exactly who I am. I know my strengths. I know my opportunities. I know who I am, and I'm much more comfortable in my own skin now than I was in my 20s. There was the insecurity, the exploration of adulthood and letting go of the teenage years and kind of going off on your own and learning those new things. So I would say the happiness level is probably equal. I mean, I had some great times then and I have some great times now, but the stability in who I am as a person and who I am as a woman is much greater now than it was then. So it's hard for me to compare the two. I feel like I'm a different person now than I was then.
Right. And I would have to say greater compared to what? But then you answered that question by saying, I'm a different person entirely.
Absolutely.
And I think everybody experiences that. Here's the thing. You're going to experience it again between now and 60.
Right.
And you're going to experience it again between 60 and 80. And God willing, you live to 100, and the actuary tables say you probably will. You're going to do it again. And it's 100% every time. So it's not, times, it's not in addition to, it's squared every time, right? Mm-hmm. And so the point, though, is you are not happier because you have less money, and you're not happier because you have more money, and you're not happier because you have more challenge. You're not happier because you have less challenge, more or less stability, more or less anything, really. It's not about the stuff or the things.
I agree with that. I agree with that because I've never really been much of a stuff chaser. Like I've pretty much always grasped the difference. And so I would have to say that, well, it goes back to happiness coming from within you and your evolution in life and really avoiding those pitfalls. I mean, doesn't it?
The kingdom of heaven lies within. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I definitely feel more fulfilled. I think the spiritual happiness and the soul happiness that I feel is much greater now, where when I was in my 20s, I hadn't experienced the contrast of what life brings you to the point that you could really appreciate the happiness and the spiritual growth and the emotional development. But that has nothing to do with what's hanging in your closet or what's on your bookshelves, And it goes back to what I always say is anything worth having in life truly cannot be taken from you. Your peace, your joy, your love, your experiences, your growth, your evolution as a human being, that can't be taken away from you. You can give it away, but it can't be taken away from you. And so I think that's where we need help as a society. We need to focus more on gratitude, more on the emotional and spiritual evolution of ourselves as opposed to what's in our bank account or what car we're driving.
Right.
So how do people do that? Because even aside from the retail and the consumption, you have alcoholism, you have all of these different addictions that are filling that void that you have in your life. I would tend to say that it's an opportunity of avoidance. So I can focus on this bad habit or this consumption or buying this stuff because it gives me that immediate, what about gambling? I've never been into a casino where I didn't see at least one or two people that are so involved in the game and they take it so seriously. And I'm sure there's more than one or two, but it's almost scary. Like it's almost scary. And what they're doing is they're trading money for a natural high of winning. And then they just keep trying to get that high. Do you remember not too long ago when the lottery was so high, the Arizona lottery, or I guess it was the Powerball, so it was the national lottery?
I don't follow that kind of thing, but I believe you.
Okay, so I remember, well, let me tell you, I remember watching on the news, and as soon as it reached this record high, it immediately catapulted day over day. Like it was, I can't even remember what it ended up as or who won it or anything like that. But I remember hearing on the news that it had hit a record high. Boy, when it hit that record high, it just kept accelerating because everybody wanted in. You would walk into the grocery store and see a line of people standing there with cash to buy lottery tickets for that chance to win that gigantic jackpot.
Right.
And then it was, and I don't, like I said, I don't remember who won it, but all of a sudden somebody finally won. Like it was this amount of time and there were no winners, and it was just crazy. Everybody was talking about it. It was around the water cooler at work or in the grocery store or wherever. It was crazy. You would have to walk through people as you're walking into the grocery store because they were standing in line to buy lottery tickets. And the majority of them did not win.
The majority? You're a master of understatement. 1 in 100 million. So 999, I would say the majority.
The majority did not win. I know. But
true enough, the majority did not.
But then do you know what the conversation around the water cooler was the next day?
What?
I can't freaking believe I didn't win. I can't believe. No lie. Like everybody just knew that it was their time and their chance. Now, if you think about that on an energetic level and the energy that you put out into the world, it is an energy of scarcity, of greed, of I want mine. And it's crazy. It's like, It's like this. You ready? I've got 2 words for you, and I hate these 2 words. Black Friday. Hate it. I have never gone shopping on Black Friday, and nor will I. And you know, I have friends that love to go and whatever. But I always tell everybody that talks about it, I'm like, it's really interesting that we all go out and beat the crap out of each other the day after the most grateful day of the year. And I hate it. I refuse, because now it's not just Black Friday. It's retail people have to work Thanksgiving Day because people just can't wait for those deals. And I hate that. Because it's not about quantity. It's about quality. Yes, you're going to have to buy things other than food and clothing and shelter. You are going to buy things. But why not make them quality things that you'll appreciate, that you'll take care of? You don't need 15 TVs because they're $100 a piece at 5 o'clock in the morning on Thanksgiving Day. And it's just, it gets worse and worse. But what that does, there again, on an energetic level, that puts scarcity and greed out into that whole energy field that we all share. And I would think that most people are impacted by the attitudes and the feelings of the people around them. And so when you're putting yourself in that position, not only are you focusing on stuff and focusing on the material aspect of filling that void, that you really need to step back and go, okay, what's the source of that void, and work through it. You are impacting all of the people around you just as much as they're impacting you.
Sure.
And that's sad.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
Well, but bringing that awareness gives people an opportunity to change it. You just have to, and we won't change everybody. Maybe that one guy in Montana that listens to us. But
that one guy in Montana.
But we have to get that out there. I think it's the responsibility of the people who understand that to share it. And, you know, if people want to look at it in a different way, and, you know, then so be it. Everybody's entitled to an opinion.
Okay. Here's the thing, though. The thing is the consumer, the buying public, especially here in the United States, has been conditioned to believe that there is a cure for everything. And I don't think that there's some great big nefarious conspiracy, but I do believe that by virtue of just competition for the dollar, we've come up with more and more clever ways to convince people that this pill will help you and that this television set will make you feel better somehow. Right? And well, tell me this, and I'll borrow something from somebody else, but if I were to say the words plop, plop, what would you say?
Fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is.
That's right. And so you are like, you're like 98% of all people over the age of maybe 30, right? That would have been exposed to that advertising campaign as a child. And so because of these super clever means and methodologies of encoding into our brains that stuff and consumption will ease the pain, it will ease the loneliness, it will make us feel better about life. If I could just get the pill or buy the meal or drive the car, then I too would be important. I too would get to feel good, like all those people on television feel good. And that's what I mean when I say it's not necessarily your responsibility. Ultimately, making the payment, barring a total societal collapse, making the payment is your responsibility. You got to do what you said you were going to do.
Right.
But it's not your fault that you feel this way. You have been conditioned to believe by a broad, sweeping media force that stuff is your way out, when all stuff is a way to get deeper in. I mean, that's the irony. The stuff that you are buying, that you are participating with, is the absolute antithesis of what you want. What you want is freedom and comfort and security, relationships. You want to feel good about yourself and feel good about others, have others around you in your life. And you can do that in a van down by the river, really. But then the commercial comes on, and gosh, wouldn't it be so much better if instead of in a van down by the river, you were sitting around this big, beautiful table, having a big turkey dinner, and you're shown these visual images of other people who have it so much better than you for just a scant payment of $29 a month. They've got it so much better than you. And the fact of the matter is they don't.
So let me ask you this. So we know in previous generations, there were a lot of people that would go out and they would work and they would save and they would buy without opening a line of credit, right? So we know that. We also know that as generations have passed and we have become a more consumer-driven society, we take out lines of credit to ultimately buy the same thing that our predecessors, saved for and paid for with their savings. Now, one might argue that if I'm putting aside money every month to pay for or to save up for something, what's the difference in opening a line of credit, purchasing what I want, other than the interest rate, obviously, that we all succumb to and we all have to pay interest. What's the difference if I'm putting back money monthly to save for something versus paying something off monthly?
So other than the fact that it's 2 to 3 times more expensive to save your money after you have acquired the thing, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Then the problem, the bigger problem, that sounds terrible. I mean, 300% more? You got to be kidding me. There's no way that
we all do it though. Yeah.
10 or 12% interest is going to add up to 300% more. Well, I would dare you to add up your monthly payments for the next 5 or 7 years that you're paying for that thing and compare that to the sticker price. And you'll find that it is 2 to 3 times more. It just is. And just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Okay. You go to, there are 2 levels deeper. 1 level deeper, you go down and you look at something referred to in psychology as the law of the harvest, which simply stated, I can't go pick tomatoes and make a nice sandwich before I plant tomato seeds.
Right.
Okay? Mm-hmm. But we live in a world, because of currency and because of a banking system, that will take 3 times the money on the back end as opposed to all the money up front. But you have this situation where you are able to harvest on the promise that you will plant tomato seeds next month and the month after that and the month after that. which means that thing that is coming to you comes to you very easily, right?
Okay.
And I'm reminded of one of the founders of this country, Thomas Paine, who is notably has said, that which comes too easily is esteemed too little, which means if I easy come, easy go, if I get something easily, I don't necessarily hold on to it. How many people buy their dream car, pay for it for 24 or 36 months, beat it all to hell, and then go get another dream car because the payment's only another $40 a month.
Right.
It's only another $40 or $50 a month, and another $40 or $50 in insurance, and man, for $80 or less than $100 a month, I'm there. I'm in a brand new car. That's right. So that car will come to you also very easily, and you will esteem it likewise. You will care about it and care for it because you've made no effort, no sacrifice to have the thing. It's just a payment and then just another payment. Now, in the aggregate, it is an incredible level of work. It's 3 times the work that it was. But because it came to you so easily, you just don't esteem it. You don't care.
Well, yeah, it boils down to the fact that we want it now versus waiting. But I will tell you that if we all tried to save our money to go out and purchase a vehicle, there would maybe be 5 cars on the road.
I mean, true enough, because of the system that we have bought into. We've bought into a system over the course of time that cui bono, who benefits, it benefits the banking system tremendously. And because of that, here we are. Now, the level that's even deeper than, something that comes too easily is esteemed too little, is the underlying notion that you really need a brand new car.
Right.
Where does that come from? As we've discussed, that generally comes from people feeling like they're making huge sacrifices in other areas, right? I'm making the sacrifice to go do the job that I hate and sit in that damn cube hour after hour after hour. I want to be comfortable on my way home in a nice brand new car, and on my way in the next morning in a nice brand new car, right? And so we feel like we've made this huge sacrifice, and thusly we should be rewarded because deep down we believe in the law of the harvest. If I'm putting in the work, man, I want to harvest the produce. We believe in it. And so we exercise it, but we exercise it in really dysfunctional ways. So if you back out and say, I don't need the new car, and I don't need the new house, and I don't need a house that's, less than an hour in traffic from work. I don't need to live in a major metropolitan area at all, right? Mm-hmm. How much less money do you need to just be free and do what you want to do as opposed to doing what you feel like you have to do?
Right. I think that's the difference. When you're doing the things that you feel like you have to do, you'll ultimately feel trapped on some level. But if you're doing the things that you want to do, life is so much better.
It is. It definitely is. But at the same time, if you fall into the trap of having a spiritual cavity and shoving a material possession into it, then you are on the road to enslavement.
Yep, I agree.
You are mitigating your happiness. You could be going in every day doing your absolute dream job, and because you're doing your dream job, you're going to go ahead and push the capacity of the payment you can make, and you're going to stop tooling in on the old Vespa, and you're going to buy a brand new Kia Sorento, right?
Yep.
And boy, won't that be fun and much more comfortable and all of that. Because gosh darn it, I deserve it. Okay. Well, now because you have to make the Kia Sorento payment, if your dream job is not in fact your dream job, what if your dream job was a stepping stone to an eye-opening experience that leads you to see, oh my gosh, I thought that running this photo gallery was my dream job. Turns out I want to be a photographer. Right. I want to be out there in it. I want to be knee deep in the river shooting that whatever, right? That's what I really want. But guess what? I can't do it. I could have done it on the Vespa, but gosh darn it, the Kia Sorento, I can't do it.
Right.
I've got to stay here in my almost dream job and make payments. When in fact, there's a happy middle ground between the Vespa and the brand new Kia Sorento. Right?
Right.
There's a middle ground there where you say, does it service my needs? And can I just write a check for it?
Right. Well, and I think everything that you do in life is give and take, and you have to determine, you truly have to sit down and determine the sacrifice associated with the decisions that you make on a monetary level or time spent or whatever that looks like for you. But it goes back to the fact that if you're, like what you said, if you're using something material to satisfy a spiritual need, you will always have that empty void that you're trying to, or that empty hole that you're trying to fill. It doesn't fill up with that. And so really you have to inspect. And next time I go to buy a new dress, I guess I'll have to really look at it and go, do I want this dress because I have an extra coat hanger in my closet, or do I want it because I need it? And, and that's a funny example, but.
Right. But it's a micro example to a macro problem.
Right. Exactly.
It's not an absurd example at all. You look at the dress and you say, does buying this dress get me closer to what I ultimately want? And then I'm going to beat this drum again one more time. And I can't promise you I won't be beating this drum for the rest of my life. Most people have no clue what they want. They refuse to sit down and dream and visualize and write and think and plan. They can't just sit down between you and a blank sheet of paper and God Almighty looking over your shoulder and say, what do I want to be doing with my time, with my money, with my opportunity to breathe in and out on this planet 1 year from today? If I could describe any perfect reality, what would that look like? And no matter how absurd that seems, write it down in great detail.
Right.
And then you start backing it down. You start negotiating with yourself and you bring it into the world of realities, right?
Right.
I mean, it's one thing to say, hey, I want to buy the Taj Mahal and live therein, right? And then you have to negotiate with yourself. Taj Mahal's not for sale, sunshine, not for any amount of money. You can't buy that, right? I want to buy the White House. Yeah, you're not going to be buying the White House, man. The American public's not going to sell the White House, right? And so there's always this negotiation, this back and forth that happens. But you have to start in your ideal scenario and then back it down based on the things that the ideal scenario would take away from you that you actually want more. You made a comment earlier, and I'm reminded of engaging with a client in the past. And this lady's a real estate agent, and she was telling me how she loves to travel and just go and do and to be impulsive and just spur of the moment, go drive to the beach in Mexico or whatever it was, right? Mm-hmm. And she just wanted to go drive to the beach in Mexico and live out of her car and remember how to surf or whatever it is. But I can't do that. I can't do that. And I told her, you choose not to do that. No, I can't do that. It's not even a choice. No, it is a choice. If you can think of it, it's a choice. You are choosing not to do it because you want to not lose your home, not lose your car, not have Division of Family Services come pick up your lonely, starving children. You don't want your dogs to die of starvation while you're off learning how to surf. You wouldn't feel good about yourself. You can't live with yourself. And so you say to yourself, hey, I want to go live out of the car and learn how to surf again, but do I want to do it at the expense of my dog starving to death or my home burning down or whatever? No, I actually want my home more then I want to go have that experience. Okay, now you know who you are. Now you know what you want. And so you've chosen to stay home. Stop complaining and start looking for a way to have that which what you want. Stop thinking of all the things you can't do and start doing all the things you can think of. And you will accomplish your goals.
Well, I think that's the key takeaway for this entire podcast. It all comes back to not knowing who you are. Because
that's right.
I promise you, when you know who you are, those voids get smaller and smaller.
That's right.
So.
Well, okay then.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
I'm going to go return my new dress I just bought. Just kidding. I
feel
love
all
it.
Guilty about it.
No, I don't. I'm playing. Oh.
All right. Well, thanks so much for showing up and being a part of our lives like this. It makes us feel like we're helping someone, even if it's that one guy in Montana.
We love you, Montana. Good talk. I think it was great. Thanks for listening in. Remember that we are on Facebook, and we also would love your feedback anytime you'd like to share it with us. Have a great night and
dream your life
and live your dreams.
Talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.